Today we're going to do a battle of the super shoes. We're going to do the Nike Vaporfly Next 2 versus the Adidas Adios Pro. Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. If you've not guessed already, my name is Running Man Sam and I am an absolute shoeaholic. As you can probably tell by some of the shoes in front of you, I have an absolute running shoe addiction. I need help, but I'm never going to stop, especially not while they look as good as these. Hit these two shoes head to head against each other. And it's actually something that I'm just as interested in as you might be, because someone said to me today, Sam, if you had a half marathon race, which shoe would you pick? And I said it would be between these two shoes, and I guess this video is going to sort of help me decide. Please make sure you hit that like, and if you are new to the channel today, please subscribe as well. I hope you will see that this guy is absolutely shoe mad, and this is where you're going to want to be coming to learn about these shoes or find out whether they're worth spending your hard-earned cash on. So, in some of my easy run shoes or sort of like daily trainer shoes, I normally score it on like an easy run, a long run, a faster run and value. But I decided a long time ago that that wasn't going to work for speed day shoes, because obviously you wouldn't be doing your easy runs in this. You might do a long run, but it's, you know, it's a racing shoe or a tempo shoe. So scoring it on that wouldn't be a fair way of doing it. So I was thinking to myself, when I'm thinking of a racing shoe, what are the most important things for me? And again, obviously I settled on value for this because that's the winning factor there on whether you buy a shoe or not. But I think some of the important factors are things like how durable the shoe is, how stable the shoe is, how responsive the shoe feels, fit and feel of the shoe. So not necessarily for me, but for a lot of other people, the weight seems to be a big factor. So we're going to be scoring both of these shoes out of 5 on those factors, and that's going to sort of give us a definitive answer on what I think is the best super shoe in these terms. Or you can sort of decide what you want. If you want something a little bit more stable, this scoring might help. Something a bit more responsive, hopefully it will help that way. How they shine in each of those areas. So we're going to start off with value. I have got 2 versions of the Adidas Adios Pro. This shoe here is fairly new, but in this shoe here I've done about 62 miles, and in the Vaporfly Next 2 I'm up to about 10 miles. In the original Vaporfly, this one here, I've got over 120 miles in this shoe. So in terms of value, let's start off with the Adidas Adios Pro, which we're just going to call the Adios Pro so we don't have to do all that alliteration all the time. The Adidas Adios Pro retails at £170, which is an absolute steal in terms of carbon fibre plate racing shoes. Now, that's if you can get hold of this shoe. This shoe is pretty much a 4-leaf clover. You can't seem to find it anywhere. As soon as the new colourways drop out, as I say, I've got it in both these colourways, they seem to sell out instantly, especially in size 11 for some reason. To any of you size 11 UK shoe lovers, let me know in the comments below. Do you always seem to find that they're the size that sells out the quickest? That 9, I think. Score this a 4 out of 5. Scoring for a carbon plate racing shoe. Not in terms of what I think is a good value shoe. That's not me saying that £170 is a well cheap shoe. I'm just scoring these in the same category as each other. This is the cheapest carbon plate racing shoe that I know of at £170. So therefore it gets a 4 out of 5. Moving on to the Nike Vaporfly Next 2 in this gorgeous blue colourway. Now this shoe has come down to £209. As you'll probably know, the original version was about £239, £240, and they have brought this down to £209, which I think is definitely to sort of help bring it in line with the Adios Pro a little bit. So for that reason, I'm going to give it a higher score than I would have before, because obviously the price has come down. but it is still obviously more expensive than the Adios Pro. So we're going to give this a 3.5 out of 5 in terms of value, in terms of carbon plate racing shoes. It's cheaper than the Meta Speed, it's cheaper than the Alphafly. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to the weight of the shoe after covering value. So, something quite interesting here. The Vaporfly Next Percent 2 has gained a tiny little bit of weight from the first one. I can't tell you exactly how much because unfortunately my version 1 is an 11.5 because it was all that I could get at the time, and version 2 is an 11, so it wouldn't be a fair difference. However, I have noticed something really interesting here, and I'd be really interested to know if I'm the only one that's had this. My left Vaporfly weighs 231 grams, which is not too bad. My right Vaporfly weighs 236 grams. Now I've weighed this 3-4 times because I thought there's no way that can be right, but it is. There is a 5 gram difference between my left and right foot. I don't know how much of a difference that will make. I don't know. Does anybody else weigh your shoe? If you've got this shoe, let me know if yours is the same. Is that weird? Just quickly, I didn't have that same problem in that shoe, and I've not noticed that before. But anyway, so in terms of weight, as a racing shoe, I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5. And that's just because it's gained a little bit of weight from the first version, but I do think that the upper is a definite improvement on the first version. And it's a lot lighter than most of the other racing shoes out there. It's lighter than the Adios Pro, probably one of the lightest carbon plated shoe. Moving on to the Adios Pro, that just looks so awesome, but we're going to focus on the weight. It's 264 grams, and that is the same for the left and right. They both weigh pretty much exactly the same, which is what I would expect it to weigh. No, is it not meant to? Is the left and right not meant to weigh the same, or is your right foot meant to weigh more than I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me, and I've probably got a weird one. As I say, let me know. But this weighs the same, 261 grams, which is obviously 30 odd grams more heavy than this. So I don't know about you guys, but for me, because I'm a big old lump, I really do not notice a difference in that weight at all. I'm just going to score it for those of you that are interested in weight. I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5 for the weight. So for me, when I put on a shoe, and probably for a lot of other people, one of the most important thing is how that shoe feels on your foot. Not necessarily the running feel, but just how the upper feels on your foot, how the insole feels, how the heel cup feels, all that sort of thing, just what it feels like when you put it on. So we're going to start off with a gorgeous Adios Pro in that super duper lovely orange colour. For me, I'm going to score this a 4 out of 5 in terms of fit and feel. I just love how this shoe, personally I just love how this shoe feels when I put it on. This one here, I've done half marathon races in this. I've done recently done a 5k time trial on this, which I'll put a link to up here. But I just think it just feels one of the most comfortable racing shoes that I have. I never get any sort of arch pain or anything like that. It's got quite a nice wide platform. The heel is not too much, but not enough. And the upper is very, very breathable. Moving on to that super blue Vaporfly 2. Now, for me, this is almost just as good. I love how the upper feels. I love what the foam feels like to walk in terms of that sort of fit and feel. I do really like the heel counter. Again, not too over the top, not enough. It's just right. Nice little bit of padding on the tongue. So that's all good. That's all nice. But what I don't like about this is, which we don't have on the Adios Pro, is it really does come in here in the middle of your foot. As I said on the initial view of the Vaporfly 2, this shoe sometimes does give me arch pain. Now, and I've only done 10 miles in this one, but I've done 120 miles in the original version and 20 miles in the custom of number Vaporfly 1. And I get the similar sort of feelings there, and obviously nothing's changed in the midsole towards these two shoes, just the upper. So for me, because I've got a little bit of a high arch and a little bit of a history of plantar fasciitis, I do sometimes get arch pain with this, and now obviously for me that's going to affect the fit and feel score. So this is just I can only score it as me, I can't score it for you, but hopefully you sort of trust my opinion. I'm being fully honest. I say, you know, when something's got something bad, when something's got something good. In terms of fit and feel, it's a 3.5 out of 5. It's really comfortable, apart from just that midfoot bit where it comes in a little bit. Moving on to the next category, we are going to talk about stability. Now, stability is a pretty important thing in life, isn't it? And it's pretty important in a racing shoe as well, for me. Obviously you want to go out there and run really fast and get those amazing race times, but if your shoe's feeling like your ankle's about to break underneath you as you are going, that's probably not a very good thing, because you don't want to be injured the next day or out of your training. So you want a shoe to feel good under your foot, you want it to feel stable. No secret that for me, this is one of the most stable racing shoes that I've ever run in. It's a lot more stable than the Vaporfly, as we'll find out, and the Alphafly. As a racing shoe, a 4 out of 5. So now, as I said, remember that's as a racing shoe. So it's not super stable in terms of a daily trainer or a long run shoe, or that sort of thing. On to the Vaporfly 2. It's not quite as stable for me because the foam is quite soft, and also because of the again with the midfoot coming in a little bit, that does affect the stability for me. I absolutely love running in this shoe, okay? I'm not going to say that I don't, but I do always say it feels like it's an accident waiting to happen when I run in this shoe, just because of, it doesn't handle corners super well for me. As I say, I'm 6'2", 92 kilograms, so bear that in mind. It might be very different for you, size 11 UK in my running shoes. But for me, it's not awful at handling, not compared to the Alphafly, which for me, that was like a sort of double-decker bus going round a roundabout at 70 miles an hour. It was a catastrophe for me. I nearly broke my ankle so many times in that shoe, and I retired it. I'm gonna give this a 3 out of 5. I'm gonna talk about that out and out fast feeling. How fast is how much go-go are in these shoes? How much bounce do you get for your buck? How much boom are you gonna get back from these things? Do they give back what you put in? And which one makes you feel like you're flying? The scoring out the way, first of all, I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5 in terms of responsiveness as a racing shoe. The more you put into this shoe, the more you get back. So if you're taking it a little bit easy, although it will feel stable, it doesn't necessarily want to work with your foot. It wants to get you running a little bit faster. It's not quite as sort of bouncy as ZoomX or quite as responsive, but it does still feel fast. Don't let that put you off. It's just not quite as fast as the Vaporfly. This is a 5 out of 5. When you put this shoe on, you know you are in business in terms of speed. You've got the Ferrari on your foot, you are flying around, you are zooming past everyone, you just can hear that foam underneath you, the carbon fibre plate is zooming you into space, you feel like you're cheating, the nitrous boost kicks in. You can't beat this in terms of speed, in my opinion. Not in terms of just overall shoe, just in terms of speed. This is the fastest racing shoe, the fastest shoe I've ever run in, and for that reason it is a 5 out of 5 in terms of responsiveness. So the final thing we're going to talk about is traction. The Adios Pro looks like it has got absolutely no grip, and when I got this shoe I was really worried that would be the case. However, I was completely wrong. I have done 62 miles now in this one, as I said a few times. Although you can see this coming through here, that has not affected the traction. That is just the carbon rods. It's basically like a sort of, like a cat tongue. You know how they're like sort of really tacky? I don't know why I was doing that, I haven't got a cat tongue. But it just feels really tacky. So obviously I haven't run on the grass, like loads on the grass, if I've gone through grassy areas. But I've been out in the pouring rain in this shoe, honestly, and it still feels really grippy for me. I've been around corners fast and I've still not ended up on my bum, which is a pretty good thing. So in terms of traction for me, it's not the best in the world, but I would give this a 3.5 out of 5 in terms of traction. The only reason it's not a little bit higher is because I have done a race where it was quite muddy, and I wasn't slipping around too much, but obviously there's no lugs, so we're going to get traction there on concrete, but with no lugs, you go on a little bit of off-road with a little bit of wet mud and things like that, and you do slip a little bit. It is a similar sort of case here with the Vaporfly Next %, although we do have a little bit more groove in here, in this bit here. I'm going to give it the same score, just because it is really hard to differentiate between the two. And there we have it, guys. That is my sort of unbiased view of these two absolute super shoes. Whether you want something that's stable or fast or the certain weight, and hopefully that will help you decide what sort of shoe you like to run in. But I still have to obviously answer the question that I started at the beginning. Well, I've had a race tomorrow, which you want to pick, and I think still, if it was anything below a half marathon, definitely this. It just is lighter and a little bit faster. If it was over a 10k, I think just because of my plantar fasciitis and my high arch and just the added stability, even though I know I'm gonna sacrifice a little bit of responsiveness from this, I think I'm sort of happy to make that sacrifice for the added stability and just sort of the added comfort level in terms of like the arch area here for me. Obviously you gain a little bit of weight, but you know, for me that's not a massive problem. So anything a 10k and over, I think more than likely is going to be this one here that I go for. So guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video. I know I've enjoyed talking about these gorgeous shoes. Please, before we go, if you can just make sure you hit that like, give us a comment as well. Again, I'm really interested to see whether you've got a difference between your left and right shoe in weight. If you've ever noticed that, I wouldn't have noticed that until I weighed them. As always guys, I have been Running Man Sam. These have been some absolutely gorgeous running shoes, and I will see you guys in a bit.